We all know what's going on at the border, and really it boils down to is motivating people to do something next.
Starting here at Virginia Beach, and the first leg will end in Jacksonville tonight, and then from there we'll go to Baton Rouge, Dripping Springs in Texas, I think, and then from there we'll head on to Eagle Pass.
So nobody's going to be hating anybody. Nobody's going to tell go back to your country, and nothing like that. We're just showing support for Texas, that we care about who's coming over the border. We don't even know who's coming over the border. So that's the problem.
We are all about having people come into this country legally. It's not about the people that want to come in for a better life. It's about the people that want to come in to harm us.
Just a few dozen participants in this convoy so far, says Vice. They had promised that they would have 700,000 people. Well, they don't know any of that, right? Let's get 700,000 people to go to the border. They've had a couple of dozen. And it's mostly men over the age of 60. Vice says the low numbers could be due in part to conspiracy theories that would-be participants are expressing fears that the demonstration could be a psyop or a honeypot spearheaded by the federal government, undercover agents with the goal of ensnaring right-wingers into a violent event.
Take Our Border Back convoy. It begins on January 29th. Truckers, bikers, anyone who wants to come and protect the United States and demand that our government secure our southern border is welcome. They'll be driving to Texas, and one of the people who will help them navigate that state is Doc Pete Chambers. Chambers is, true to his title, a physician. He's a former Green Beret. He was recently down in Eagle Pass, Texas, and here's part of what he saw.
Doc Chambers from Eagle Pass, Texas. Today's the 18th of December. We're out here at the point of entry. 5,000 are sitting on the ground right now. It's increasing as we go along. Information that we've received says another 7,000 should be processed through this particular point by morning. Joe and I have been here many times. Last time we were down here, we were in uniform, and now I'm a civilian and in the Army of God. So we'll keep telling truths, and you need to get this video to your legislators and tell them, in the state of Texas particularly, this is out of control.
So not surprisingly, Doc Pete Chambers has been attacked by dying legacy media outlets as a deeply scary person, because your country being invaded is not scary. It's all totally normal. We thought it would be worth talking to Doc Pete Chambers about what he expects to happen with this convoy and his role in it. He joins us now. Dr. Chambers, thank you so much for coming on.
It's great to be here, Tucker.
So what can we expect with this convoy? Can you describe what it is and what its purpose is?
Right. This is a peaceful assembly. This is what we do as Americans. This is how we shed light to a subject. This shedding of the light will result in exposing really what an open border policy looks like.
Yes.
We know we know the problem sets in Texas, but literally I promise you this, that 40 miles north of that border, there will be people that will never have heard of the border problem because they just watch mainstream media.
Yes.
And so this is what that is about.
And so can you tell us the route of the convoy and who you expect to join it?
Right. So right now they're going to be leaving out of, on the 29th, Virginia Beach, which is where the 1607 Covenant, the landing, which signified the John Smith landing in 1607, where they planted a cross on the beach and said, hey, this is a covenant to this nation, to God. And then they're going to leave from there, and they're going to go down through Florida. They're going to cut across Highway 10 through Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Houston, into Dripping Springs, Texas, where I'll be working out of, and then on to near Eagle Pass. Now, I'm part of the advisory of this, and as I advised, I used to be in that same unit that's down there. That's the unit that has a streamer on it from the Alamo. It's a very historic Texas unit. And so they are down there holding the line. And I know those soldiers. I worked with them. I took care of them as a doctor with Operation Lone Star. They're busy. So the convoy is going to go just a little bit just a little bit to the north, really, in an area about 30 miles away in Quemado, Texas, to a children's camp. A beautiful lady down there who has taken care of orphans and widows. You can't write this stuff in a book. I couldn't make this up. But she was overrun, first of all, by the COVID mandates that said, you got to shut down. You can't keep running this shelter, number one. Number two, she was overrun by the numbers of volumes of illegals that were coming through her neighborhood, trying to get into her food pantry. And then number three, the cartels are a significant presence in that area because that is the end point of where they do the end around. So we are looking at the bright, shiny object that is Eagle Pass. That's a bright, shiny object. Look here. The droids that you're not looking for, if you will, are just to the north, right in that location. And so what this is going to do is it's going to bring light to it, because we have to understand that there is a constitution, both state and federal, and that we have to, number one, expose those that argue things in the Hegelian dialectics, if you will, of tort law, and look at the Constitution, which is exactly what this is a focus on. The Constitution, we the people. That's why we the people will be riding along, mama bears, cops, veterans, truckers, and going to that location to bring light. There is nothing nefarious about this. There is, matter of fact, I am suggesting to them that they and they know this, that this is a peaceful demonstration. This is how this will be.
Vice and mainstream media will focus on this little army of God that has a few dozen participants, and they think that's a threat. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands a month, coming across the border, in caravans of several thousand at a time, that's not a problem. Not a problem. The problem is those couple of dozen people going to the border. That's what they want to focus on. But again, I don't think that this is a smart way to do it. And I don't think it's a smart way. It's not going to fix the problem. There's nothing that they can really do. There's only downside potential in this, as you see with this article. Look at the way they portray it. One person says, I have 3 former associates doing lengthy prison sentences because of the J6 setup, said one person. I know firsthand that even if they don't have any charges they can pin on you, they'll make something up. That's right. One of the organizers, a former military commander, Pete Chambers, who says he was a Green Beret, put out a video message in which he appears to directly appeal to those supposed undercover federal agents. He says, quote, if you start going after these people trying to trap them, you're going to be found out. He said, there's too much momentum on the other side, bro, so just let it go. Stop working for that entity. They're just going to tear you down. They're going to use you like a Kleenex, just like they did to me. So the problem is that this thing is bad. It's bad if it gets big. It's bad if it peters out. It was a bad, bad idea. And I'm sorry to see this thing going, because if it peters out, everybody says, see, they don't care. Nobody cares about it. So to make that a stake there. But the good news is that even the left now, Politico is saying, a lot of people aren't going to participate in this because they believe that it is a trap. The escalating standoff has inspired Civil War fantasies of feds versus states showdown. Organizers of the convoy, who include QAnon world influencers and anti-vaxxers, characterize the demonstration as an army of God and have spent the last couple of days putting out PR fires, trying to distance themselves from possible future unrest or bad optics. And see, that's the problem. Nothing is going to come out of this except unrest or bad optics. And the fact that they brought God into it, the fact they started talking about it as an army, said, well, we got to have active or retired law enforcement officers, and we need retired military. Organizers also trying to assuage fears that the convoy is a false flag or a psyop. One of the organizers also waved off concerns about entrapment. He said, when J6 happened, that's DC. It has nothing to do with the U.S. It's its own continent. We're in our country, not a foreign territory. Well, I believe that DC is a foreign country, as I've said before. But that doesn't mean that they don't operate in our country. They got spies everywhere, that foreign country in Washington, D.C. Others are suggesting people avoid the convoy altogether. One YouTube channel that's run by a trucking husband and wife, it's got about 100,000 subscribers. They said, you're being set up. You're advertising every move you're making to the people who want to know the most. The guy's husband's name, he goes by Red Viking. He says, there is no 1776 happening here. Put that out of your mind. Yes. He also raised suspicions about the organizer, Pete Chambers, because he said, Green Berets are masters of psyops. And that's absolutely true as well. Years ago, when we were talking about asymmetric warfare, about the different centers that have been set up by the U.S. military and Army base and a Marine base and places like that, like the one at AP Hill. McRaven was Admiral McRaven was head of Special Forces. And he said, we're going to, the public has this idea of Special Forces and Navy SEALs and everything as being all this kinetic stuff, right? They're jumping out of planes and they're, doing sabotage work and things like that. But he said, no, for the most part, what we did was psyops. And for the most part, what they did was stuff like Jade Hill, which was a psyop, which was to see where people are going to come down. He said, we typically would go into a country with Green Berets and we try to identify who's going to be our allies, who's going to be our opponents. That type of psyop. when we were there at the Bundy Ranch, it's kind of interesting. All week I was there leading up to that Saturday when the standoff happened. All week we couldn't get any internet service on our phones. We'd have to go up to the Bundys, who had like a wired connection, and get on their Wi-Fi to file stuff. Couldn't do anything at all at the site. And then somehow, magically, even though there were hundreds of people there that day that had not been there before, somehow magically everybody's phone was working on that Saturday. They throttle it down, then they bring it up so they can get everybody's IDs and all the rest of the stuff. Yeah, this is the way these people operate. Anyway, it says even Charlie Kirk is warning people to stay away from this. Another person said, look, this is all a trap. Trump never asked for people to go to the border, but he did instigate January the 6th, right? They can't even connect Trump with the betrayal of January the 6th when it's right there in their face. But guess who is pushing this? Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson did an interview with the lead trucker in the convoy. He's pushing this, just like Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones and a lot of other people pushed January the 6th. Hence the Ray Epps thing. The Ray Epps red herring. Look, regardless, it's not important even whether Ray Epps is a Fed or not. That's not even important. What is important is that Darren Beattie is using him to get everybody focused on Ray Epps so they don't get angry about the fact that Alex Jones, Donald Trump, all these stop the steal, save the U.S., and people like Tucker Carlson told everybody, let's go to January 6th, we're going to fix it. Tucker Carlson's doing the same thing now with the trucker convoy. Same thing. Never ends. Maybe they'll find another Ray Epps to blame it on, right? If it all goes sideways. People didn't go to January the 6th because of Ray Epps, okay? It's just that simple. No matter what happened, they didn't go there for Ray Epps. Ray Epps is the distraction. Abbott, meanwhile, as you have The Hill, reports that as Abbott is encouraging criminal white extremists to come to the border, says a Latino rights group. Well, which Latino rights group is this? Is this La Raza? The race? Everything for the race, everything about the race. Which race is that? They play the extremist card. Has The Hill ever done anything about La Raza? Well, it's not La Raza. It's something called the League of United Latin American Citizens. And it's one person, he says, this rhetoric could incite violent bigots. Well, of course, we can all play what ifs with every kind of scenario. The Washington Post is saying now Republicans say it's okay to ignore the Supreme Court. And this is the lawlessness of Trump, is the way that the Washington Post puts it. And they quote Chip Roy, they quote the Oklahoma governor, Kevin Stitt. I quoted him yesterday, both of them, talking about how, well, if the Supreme Court says you can't defend yourself, will you really not defend yourself? And of course, this issue is really the issue not of states' rights, of states' powers that are retained, that are not delegated to the federal government, as the 10th Amendment says. And so some people get this. Noel sent this article from the Good Citizen, the Civil War PSYOP, talking about the movie. I like the comment at the beginning. So the Civil War programming is already underway. I didn't have it on my Agenda 2030 calendar until 2027. But that's what they're trying to push.